First of all, I would like to say that I've tried to make the unit active and dynamic with lots of activities with clear instruction, and also try to make a cooperative learning, pushing students participate, interact in pairs, in groups, or all the class together. As a teacher, I will try to talk slow with more careful articulation, simplifying a code, trying to use familiar vocabulary, and ensure the comprehension with paraphrase. Now I'm going to explain the way I program each chapter and why I've used these materials. Well, I will try to include all the activity types or as much as I can. In this link, you can find all the documents that I made, the unit information document, and the student workbook. In the first chapter, I started the topic with a KWL chart asking what they know about electricity, what they think they are going to learn, and what they learn. On one hand, I will be able to know about the vocabulary they know. It is also a way to introduce the new unit. On the other hand, it is a way to getting familiar with the vocabulary they will see through the unit, and a way to orientate, identify the topic, the situation. I would like to encourage them to ask for a new vocabulary too. After that, I will put a video on YouTube. I ask if they have understood. If not, I will play again. Because of the process and skills involved in listening and comprehension, they will need to hear twice. I've tried to use videos that are relevant for students' interests and related to the topic too. After or during the second time we watch the video, they have to fill the gaps in the picture. So we've made up listening with the speaking, asking a question, and listening with visuals, filling the gaps. The following activity is to work in pairs, to make sentences with the instructor is given. So in this case, I'm using a model they have to copy. The next activity is to choose a word to complete the sentence. Now they have a little reading activity following with a classifying activity with a chart. Before I continue with the explanation, I would like to say that when I present vocabulary, I try to select it in groups. All vocabulary activities have visual to promote connections, matching, fill the gaps. After that, there is activity that they have to think. They will work in pairs to discuss what they think is going to happen. When asking to think, I'm trying to exposure to a challenging level. There are more of this kind of question in the following chapters. Moreover, in the second part of this activity, I'm anticipating the next little reading. They first write a definition and then they check it. Before a final task, they have an easy activity where they have to put the words in order to make a definition of electricity. And finally, they have a resume activity where they can check what they have learned. They have to put a check in the sentence is true and false, and then they have to correct the incorrect ones, rewriting them. In general, all activities are guided by, for example, sentence builders and fill the gaps type of activity. In the next chapter, we are dealing with the vocabulary of electricity basic elements. Here again, they have to complete a chart with the word given and connection with visual. As a final task, they will need to create a chart with the differences between cell and battery. For that, they can think about what they know, and also they can look on the internet for information. Once they have completed the task, they have to explain to the rest of the class what they have done. So they will practice oral exposition, and they will also need to expose the chart they have done. Most of the times it is use comprehensive input such as drawings, photos, gestures. It's also employ mostly familiar language, and there are repetition on vocabulary and grammar or sentence structure. To be honest, there is not too much reading, but just quite listening and speaking. In spite of, they will use skimming to read quickly the theoretical paragraphs and scanning to look for information on the internet. Related to the speaking, the kind of the language speech they will use will be spontaneous in class activities and oral presentation. On the other hand, the types of writing activities the students will find are expressive writing, guide composition in chapter 4, and presentational, complete a chart. In other words, written text will be reports, technical text, and not too much realia. In addition, they are exposed to the foreign language through the videos and teacher speaking. If we talk about metacognition, strategies, problem solving is used. And talking about social affective strategies, they will be working in pairs to clarify confusing points. Besides, along with activities, it's possible to find all Bloom's taxonomy stages. When remembering, they have to define then understanding, classify, and explain. When applying, choose and demonstrate and solve. When analyze, distinguish and experiment. When evaluate, argue, defend, select. And when create, design and write. As I said before, there are a lot of graphic organizers such as chart, and it is also included a challenging question to help students for a better understanding of the unit. Dealing with responses that refer to what the message is trying to convey, I have tried to include choosing, matching pictures, transferring, drawing, filling the gaps or a chart, answering, completing a set of questions, condensing, taking notes from videos. Modeling is used, they can repeat what is given, and conversing, listening, understanding, interaction with the text and video. I add a review activities to make sure they've learned the main vocabulary. And finally, related to assessment, I could gather evidence for student performance to measure learning and understanding through activities, participation, final task, and final test. Then I will evaluate and put a mark. Now I'm going to point out for me what are the most significant activities because I don't have time to explain all of them in detail. So I have started chapter 3 with the previous chapter to introduce the topic. They have to think and draw. After that, they will be able to make an experiment simulating one or few circuits on internet. Finally, they will have to make a conclusion. Well, chapter 4 is started with a video, but before we see the video, I asked them to write about the video with the methodology I see, I think, I wonder. Then they will be speaking with a partner and making analogies. More, the next activities are problem solving, and finally, they will need to make a report and oral presentation in groups about one of three famous scientists is given. Chapter 5 starts with the theoretical law, but it is added a visual to make it easier to understand. Following the explanation is a problem that it is solved to have students a model to follow. Then they will complete several sentences to see if they have understood the theoretical and some problem to solve. Finally, they will find a set of sentences to complete about magnitudes and making analogies to make it simple to follow. The last chapter is going to start with a short video and an electric diagram to follow the different types of circuit explanation. Apart from choosing, they will have to answer a challenging question and finish creating a chart comparing series and parallel circuits. I try to put the easier activities at the beginning of the each chapters and then make it more difficult. I've tried to explain why I use these activities and the order where I are organized, but I'm sure that I forget certain information, although I think the message and the main idea is being correctly explained.